Welcome and thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. The Keystone State saw nail biters in both 2016 and 2020. It looks like Pennsylvania is headed for a repeat come November. A new Fox News poll shows the race is up for grabs with President Joe Biden and President Donald Trump in a tight race, with Trump holding a slight lead. And I have a question for the first son, Hunter Biden. Do you want a public hearing or not? Have you heard the latest on Hunter Biden's invitation to tell his story on Capitol Hill? California braces for their new electric plan, Make More, Pay More, as the state's trying to decide how to go green without going broke. You want to know how they plan to do it? Now, we all know that Californians are crazy, and let me just apologize for those of you who listen to me in California, because I know that I do have listeners to Just the Truth in California. Get out while you can. California lawmakers are mandating, get this now, that utilities start billing ratepayers based on not how much electricity they use, but how much money they make. Again, if you're in California, get out while you can. I got the details for you in today's show. And a time capsule was placed behind a cornerstone at the former Spartanburg City Hall building back in 1961. The building's now set to be demolished. The capsule's contents will soon be unveiled. Any speculation on what could be inside? Maybe a copy of my birth announcement, as that was the year I was born. Hope you joined the conversations today. 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Send your text to the Furman Ford text line. You can send me a quick email as well, joey@joeyhudson.com. And your voice messages are welcome as well, 864-477-JOEY.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Okay, let's start with the latest poll in Pennsylvania, the Keystone State, as it's looking like this year is going to shape up like another 2016-2020. Former President Donald Trump, of course, won in 2016 by less than a percentage point, while Joe Biden squeaked out his 2020 win by just over a point. Pennsylvania being one of those key states that we didn't know the outcome for literally days, maybe even weeks on Pennsylvania after the 2020 election. In the presumptive 2024 rematch that we're expecting, Trump has 49%, a narrow edge over Joe Biden's 47% among Pennsylvania registered voters, according to the latest Fox News poll, which was just released yesterday. That 2-point difference is when the polls within the polls margin of error. Biden held a campaign event near Philadelphia last Friday. Trump visited in late February. Biden sees his strongest support from non-white voters, 64%. White voters with a college degree of 57%. Now, that's surprising there. White voters with a college degree. So you'd think they'd be smart enough. Suburban women, 57%, and those ages 65 and over, 50%. Now, Donald Trump sees his biggest advantage with white evangelical Christians, 73%. White men without a college degree, 63%. Those voters out in the countryside, 59%. And Generation X at 54%. That's a little surprising as well. Both candidates have most likely locked down voters from their own parties, as roughly 9 in 10 Democrats and Republicans support their party's presumed nominee. In a potential 5-way matchup now, the race is a tie. Biden and Trump getting 42% apiece. And this is where those third-party candidates can really have an effect. RFK Jr. comes in third with 9%. Jill Stein and Cornel West, you've heard the name Jill Stein, maybe not Cornel West, get 2% each. A quarter of Republicans, or 24%, do not identify in Pennsylvania with the MAGA movement, and Trump's hurt in this five-way because of it, as 4 in 10 of them support either Biden or one of the third-party candidates. So if you've asked yourself the question, who does third-party candidates like RFK Jr. hurt the most, we kind of suspected it was Trump, and it is in Pennsylvania. Among these non-MAGA Republicans, the race goes 52% Trump, 19% Biden, 19% Kennedy. Support among independent splinters, 29% Trump, 25% Biden, and 21% Kennedy. Kennedy is coming on pretty strong in some of these areas. In a two-way race, non-MAGA Republicans are more solidly behind Trump with 70%, yet 2 in 10 still back Joe Biden. That equates to about 22%. Independents go for Trump over Biden by 7 points. That's a good sign there in this two-way race. Again, you add the third-party candidates back in there, and it changes the race. Pollster Darren Shaw, who's a Republican, conducted the Fox News poll with Democrat Chris Anderson. He said non-MAGA voters are hurting Trump a bit, and Biden's coalition is less frayed in Pennsylvania than it is in other battleground states. The key seems to be rosier economic perceptions in the state, as 59% say the economy is getting better or holding steady, and Biden is golden among those voters. I don't know what economy they're looking at, but hey, I'm happy for them if it's true. The economy, once again, comes out as the top issue among voters when deciding who to cast a ballot for in November. Most Pennsylvanians are feeling either neutral or positive about their financial situation. 6 in 10 say they're holding steady, or 14% saying they're actually getting ahead. 6 in 10 Pennsylvania, 61% say that the economy will be extremely important to them come November. That's followed by more than 5 in 10 saying that it's in election integrity. Immigration border is next with 52%. All other issues are below 50%, like health care, foreign policy, abortion, and climate change. Climate change at the very bottom at 27%. There's little partisan agreement on the issues. Democrats, health care, abortion, election integrity are the most important, while the Republicans and independents, it's the economy, immigration, border security, and election integrity. When asked which candidate would better handle these issues, Biden and Trump each have advantages. For example, on the top three, Biden is seen as better on election integrity, while Trump is better on the economy and immigration and border security. Among the lower-ranking issues, Biden is favored, this is not surprising, on abortion, health care, and climate change. Of course he is on climate change, while Trump is seen as slightly better on foreign policy with just a 4% difference. Being mentally sound, 74% believe this is extremely important. Honest and trustworthy, 73% believe that these are worthy causes and are things that they're looking at in a candidate. They're some of the top traits that they're looking for. That's followed by being willing to fight for the people, being a strong leader. Few prioritize voting for a candidate who is not too extreme. Now, Biden is preferred among voters who say that honesty and not being too extreme is extremely important to them, while Trump is a choice among those saying that the same about being mentally sound, a strong leader, and willing to fight for the people. Trump comes out very strong in that category. Over half of Pennsylvania voters, 54%, disapprove of Joe Biden's job, though, as president, while 45% approve. They're also more likely to strongly disapprove than strongly approve of him. So 43% disapprove of Joe Biden's position on many of the issues. 6 in 10 believe Biden was legitimately elected, and of those, 20% support Trump if the election were held today. Republican candidates for the U.S. House fare slightly better than their presidential standard bearer in a 2024 matchup. When asked about their congressional vote, 46% of Pennsylvania voters would go for the Democrat candidate in their district versus 49% for Republicans. So that's a positive sign as well. If we can keep some of the congressional seats and maybe pick up some in Pennsylvania, that's a good thing. 864-477-JOEY. Your text messages are welcome on the Furman Ford text line. You can also leave a voice message. Email us, joey@joeyhudson.com. So Hunter Biden has rejected an invitation from House Republicans to attend a public hearing alongside his former business associates, despite previously, you may recall, demanding that such an arrangement be made. This according to a letter that was obtained and published last night by the Daily Caller. Let me talk with you for just a minute before we go any further on this about your health. Would you like to sleep better? Would you like to have more energy? Would you like to have a better attention span? All of these things can improve when you start losing that visceral fat around your waist. If this is the year that you've decided you're going to focus on your health, maybe it's one of your New Year's resolutions you haven't just got around to starting yet. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her great team at the Greenville office can help you. They also have offices in Asheville, Charlotte, Lake Norman. I promise you, when you make that phone call, 864-252-4925, and you set up that initial consultation, you will never regret it. In fact, you'll be texting me, you'll be calling me, you'll be emailing me saying, Joey, why didn't I do this earlier? If you do it today, in just a matter of weeks, you can be talking about losing 10, 20, 30 pounds or more. I did. I started, it'll soon be 4 years come July. I started right after the 4th of July. By November or so, I had lost 30 pounds. And here's the key, folks. I've been able to maintain that weight loss for almost 4 years now. So maybe you're one of those who've been on a number of diets, the fad diets. You've lost the weight and you just gained it back 6 months, a year later. It's not going to happen with you with PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition. Call today or go online at myphdweightloss.com. PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition, the official partner of the Clemson Tigers. So the Oversight and Accountability, House Oversight and Accountability Committee, their chairman, James Comer, had previously invited Hunter Biden to testify along with his former business associates. You'll recognize some of the names: Devin Archer, Tony Bobulinski, Jason Galanis. They had been invited to testify March the 20th, next week. Abby David Lowell, Hunter Biden's attorney, turned down the invitation yesterday, calling the public hearing a, quote, blatant plan for media event. Lowell wrote in a letter obtained by the Daily Caller, your blatant plan for a media event is not a proper proceeding, but an obvious attempt to throw a Hail Mary pass after the game has ended. Let me remind you of a statement you made about how witnesses, and specifically Mr. Biden, could satisfy your prior request. At your press conference after the January 10th, 2024 committee hearing to hold Mr. Biden in contempt, you stated, quote, all we need are people to come in for the depositions and then we'll be finished. We just need people to show up to the depositions and we'll wrap this up. Nobody wants to wrap this up more than I do. Mr. Biden did just as you asked, and as you did when you announced that witnesses could choose depositions, you want to ignore what you said. Now, Lowell he fails to remind people that it was Hunter Biden, his client, who insisted on a public hearing. You remember the little press conference that Hunter Biden staged on the Capitol steps, saying that he would not go behind closed doors, that he wanted a public hearing? Well, he's being given that opportunity now. He's been invited to a public hearing. His attorney also asserted that Hunter would only appear for a public hearing if House Republicans also hold an investigation into the business dealings of former President Donald Trump's family members. Where has this guy been? Does he not realize that his client's father's party, the Democrat Party, and the Democrats who control Congress have not been investigating the Trump family for years now? What stone has he been under? Following the release of the letter, a source familiar told the Daily Caller that Congress saw it in the media before they actually received the letter themselves. The source said, "We just received it. They gave it to Punchbowl before providing it to Congress." And that kind of tells you their intention. When they're accusing James Comer and the House Oversight Committee of trying to use this as a media opportunity, the fact that they release this letter to the media before they give it to the House kind of tells you their intentions, right? Comer slammed Biden following the letter, saying in a statement the committee had called his bluff. He said the House Oversight Committee has called Hunter Biden's bluff. Hunter Biden for months stated he wanted a public hearing, but now that one has been offered alongside his business associates that he worked with for years, he's refusing to come. The American people demand the truth and accountability for Biden's corruption. Hunter was first subpoenaed by the House Oversight Committee in November. This was an attempt to get the first son to attend a closed-door deposition focused on his foreign business dealings. Instead of complying, Biden, as I mentioned a minute ago, held the press conference outside the Capitol on December 13th. This was the day that the scheduled closed-door deposition was to take place. Rather than showing up for the deposition, he showed up for a news conference that his attorney put together on the Capitol steps. The first son criticized Republicans for bringing impeachment inquiries against his father while denying that his father, the president, was ever involved in his business dealings. Hunter's lawyers previously offered that Hunter would appear before the committee in a public hearing and offer the first son reiterated on that during that news conference. Hunter Biden appeared for his deposition February 28th, just a couple of weeks ago, noting at least 29 times that he, quote, did not recall details of his foreign business dealings. Now, this guy made millions of dollars on his foreign business deals, but many of those he didn't recall the details of. It's laughable, isn't it? The first son, however, was able to remember that his father was not involved at all in any of these foreign business ventures. Now, he can't remember what some of the foreign deals were about, but he does remember that his dad wasn't involved in them. Selective memory. That's what you call that, selective memory. Hunter, in his opening remarks during his testimony, said, "I'm here today to provide the committee with the one uncontestable fact that should end the false premise of this inquiry. I did not involve my father in my business, not while I was a practicing lawyer, not in my investments or transactions, domestic or international, not as a board member, and not as an artist. Never," he said. But again, he did remember a lot of details. 29 times when asked questions, he couldn't recall the details of the deal. You buying any of this? Love to get your comment on the Furman Ford text line. 864-477-5639. California braces for their new electric plan. Make more, pay more is what it's being called, as the state's trying to decide how to go green without going broke first. I got the details, and let me tell you, and again, I know I have listeners in California. You got to get out while you can. Portions of today's show made possible by my friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, all you have to do is take the short drive down to Lawrence, stop in and visit with Matthew and Jim Furman. They do business the right way. They're locally owned, locally operated, and we need to support local businesses. I love to support local businesses. When it comes to getting your next vehicle, let me encourage you to choose Furman Ford. They do business the right way. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, and they take that very seriously, by the way. That means when you stop in, when you give them a call, you send them an email, you always have access to a member of the Furman family. They'll help you navigate some of the great deals they have on their selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. And what's even better, when you drive that vehicle off the lot, you know that your money is staying right in the community, supporting the communities that you love right here in the upstate. For an all-around better buying experience, if you need service on your vehicle, they can help you with that too. Visit my friends at Furman Ford in Lawrence. Find them online, FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. That's the latest challenge in the alternative energy capital of California, is how do we make this happen? How do we go green and not go broke? Democrats are proposing taxing the rich to make energy more equitable and affordable. And to do so, lawmakers are mandating, or they have a plan to mandate, utilities statewide to begin billing ratepayers, the customers, based not on how much electricity they use, but how much money they make. Sean Hyatt, director of the USC Business of Energy Transition Initiative, said this would be the first state to charge people based on their income rather than what they actually use. The problem here has been affordability. While California has focused almost completely on clean energy, it has disregarded reliability and affordability, and costs have continued to escalate. So one of the ways that they thought to address affordability was, let's just consider a tax and begin taxing people based on their income to address electrical rates, he said. The California Public Utilities Commission has until July the 1st to impose the new rate structure. The state's three main utilities, the Pacific Gas and Electric, Southern California Edison, and San Diego Gas and Electric, have proposed a tiered rate plan. And this is why people are fleeing California in herds. Households earning $28,000 to $69,000 would be charged an extra $20 to $34 a month. Now, think about that. $28,000. That's not a lot of money these days. So they're going to be charged, that tier's $28,000 to $69,000, $20 to $34 per month. I got to believe that's going to hit that $28,000 earner kind of hard. Those earning $69,000 to $180,000 will have to pay $51 to $73 more per month. And those earning $180,000 and more would pay $85 to $128 on their monthly surcharge. Again, that's a lot considering California's electricity rates are already among the highest in the nation. People living in California, they've been paying, according to the Daily Caller, they've been paying 32 cents per kilowatt hour compared to a national average of 18 cents. That's almost twice. This according to data provided to the Daily Caller by Energy Sage, which has monitored energy prices nationwide for years. It claimed that California residents have been paying $273 per month on average for electricity, or $3,276 per year. The proposal that the rich pay more, that you pay based on your income rather than your use, is creating havoc for Democrats in the state capital, Sacramento, especially among the higher earning Californians along the coast, that Hollywood group. It's not sounding so good to the liberals in Hollywood anymore. More than a dozen state Democrats have been trying to unwind their votes, echoing some Republicans who opposed the graduated income fixed charge rule from the beginning. Thousand Oaks Democrat Jackie Irwin, for example, is quoted as saying, "Our constituents have had enough, and so have we. It's time to put some reasoning back into how we charge for electricity in California. At a time when energy conservation is badly needed to avoid rolling blackouts, this dramatic policy shift could actually result in increased usage by some Californians." Ms. Irwin voted for the bill last year, but changed her mind after constituents complained that middle-income residents who conserve energy may be paying more than their neighbors who use more energy. There's also the issue of privacy and income verification. Think about that. It's unclear who or which agency would be required to obtain ratepayers' tax information to determine the electric bills. So let's think about this for a minute. If you live here in the Carolinas or Georgia, Duke Energy Would you want Duke Energy to know what your income is? Would you want my hometown of Greer, Commission of Public Works, to know what your income is? Lawrence Electric, I love Lawrence Electric. Love a lot of these co-ops. But do you want them looking at your tax returns and knowing what your income is? I don't think so. Ms. Irwin said it would be nearly impossible to implement given the many legal and privacy challenges that there would undoubtedly be to accurately determine every taxpayer's income in California. Hyatt remarked, the assumption is, well, if you're making $100,000 in the state, you must be super wealthy. But what if you have 5 or 6 kids? Would they be treated the same as a single head of household? And why did California entertain this bureaucratic nightmare to begin with? Because, well, I can't say that. I was going to say, well, because they're stupid. Let's just be honest here. Many of the critics are blaming Governor Gavin Newsom, of course, and his strict energy mandate that the state be carbon-free by 2035. I mean, here's a state that you have some 18-wheelers that are already banned. And it's already hurting some of their people because of the distribution. Truckers touch everything we use. At some point in time, every product that you have in your house right now has been in a truck. California has hurt themselves by having such strict requirements for some of the trucks that are coming into California that some of the older trucks, they just can't go. So they're paying more for freight than any other state in the nation. Terry Prosper is a CPUC spokeswoman, told a local TV station that implementation of this bill marked a critical step towards California's climate goals because a lower usage rate would lower costs for consumers to charge an electric vehicle or run an electric heat pump. Underscoring all of this is California's rush to embrace clean energy, which, contrary to what Californians were told, has not proven to be cheaper than fossil fuels. Vice President Kamala Harris, for example, back last year in January of 2023, she was dedicating a power line to carry green energy into California, saying that energy costs would be coming down. Here's the vice president making that promise just a year ago.
I'd say relatively soon. I mean, when we look at the bringing down costs, it's because clean energy is just less expensive than the traditional sources of energy. And so it's going to be about bringing down costs. It's also going to be about addressing what we need to do around creating, again, jobs. I can't emphasize that enough.
Again, that was the vice president when she was asked about the clean energy and how less expensive it was going to be, claiming that clean energy was going to be the answer to their prayers. A year earlier in Carlsbad, while dedicating a solar plant, the president himself said, quote, it's also now cheaper to generate electricity from wind and solar than it is from coal and oil, literally cheaper, he said. That's not proving true in California at all, where electric rates have been higher than in virtually every other state. Now, they're going to be charged based on their income. Hyatt said renewable energy is not cheaper than natural gas or coal or other types of baseload energy. Hyatt said the problem with intermittent renewables is they're not on time all the time. You still need natural gas. You still need battery backups because wind and solar are not reliable. We know that. We know that in the Carolinas, don't we? And in Georgia. Californians are having trouble understanding that, and it all sounded great until now. I hate it for them. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, texter says, I just heard that Judge McAfee is dismissing 6 of the bogus charges against Trump. Hopefully, he'll also dismiss Fani Willis from the case, dismiss the remainder of the bogus charges, and get the disbarment process against her and Nathan Wade started. Yes, he did dismiss some of the charges against Trump. Joel writes on the Furman Ford text line, more than half of people who leave their jobs do so because of their relationship with their boss. Smart companies make certain their managers know how to balance being professional with being human. These are the bosses who celebrate an employee's success, empathize with those going through hard times, and challenge people even when it hurts. Phil says, did I really hear a report that Biden made a comment about having a come to Jesus meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu? Really? Dom in Illinois. Yeah, and congratulations to the state of South Carolina for moving towards the Constitution and the Second Amendment. Unfortunately, I live in a state with a governor that is moving in the opposite direction, and the law-abiding citizens of Illinois are stuck with Pritzker and his Chicago cronies. Keep up the good work, Joey. Be well and stay safe. Thank you, Dom. Good to know that you're still listening in Illinois. Tony says, Joey, what is it with Republicans leaving office before their term is over? It's like they want the Democrats to take the House. Everyone knows he's a rhino. I'm assuming you're talking about Ken Buck, Tony. And his district has changed mostly Democrat voters. They're helping Democrats take control of the House. And it is a slim margin. We talked about that on yesterday's episode. If you missed it, go back and listen because I gave you some of the numbers. And it's scary how close that margin of error is in the U.S. House of Representatives. I was born in 1961, and at some point in that year, and I'm not sure when, but a time capsule was placed behind a cornerstone at the former Spartanburg City Hall building, which is now set to be demolished. The capsule's contents will soon be unveiled. Wonder what's going to be in there. You care to speculate? Portions of today's show made possible by Discounted Appliance Warehouse. Let me talk with you about your appliances. You need a new refrigerator, new stove, dishwasher, washer, dryer, and you're just not quite sure which one to purchase. And you went to the big box store, and they know absolutely nothing about the appliances they're selling, right? Plus the fact it could take a week or two to get it delivered. Let me talk with you about Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens. When you go to Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating, nearly perfect reviews on Google, and the team at Discounted Appliance Warehouse, they have the knowledge to help you feel confident in your purchase and help you feel confident that you're making the right decision. Appliances are not inexpensive, so you have to get it right. They'll show you around the warehouse. It's over 11,000 square feet, packed full of new appliances waiting for you. You're not going to have to wait weeks or months for delivery at Discounted Appliance Warehouse. They're also proud to offer Speed Queen, the only washer and dryers with up to a 7-year warranty on parts and labor. Discounted Appliance Warehouse in Pickens and online at dawpickens.com. It was 1961, and a time capsule was filled with memorabilia of the year for a future generation to see. And now the people of Spartanburg, South Carolina, are about to see what's in it. It was removed from behind a granite face tucked into the northeast corner of the building earlier this year. The building is set for demolition in late spring. After the time capsule was removed, it was sent to Spartanburg County Public Library's headquarters to be safely stored. There's been some speculation of what could be inside. City Communications Manager Christopher George said, "We're really excited to see it. There was some worry that moisture had got inside, but we think it's in good shape. It's inside a copper box that weighs about 15 pounds. The time capsule's opening has been scheduled for April the 3rd in the parking lot of the former City Hall on Broad Street in downtown Spartanburg at 10 a.m. So if you want to see what was inside, be there." George said that the city knows about at least one item inside the capsule, the first dollar earned by former city employee Joe Box. It's anybody's guess what else could be in the capsule. He said the items will be stored at the library's history department. They'll be on hold to anyone of value and worth keeping and for future generations to see. The city staff's moved from the building to the former Magnolia Financial Building on West Broad back in January. The city's fire department moved out of the building in February and to its new headquarters on Howard Street. A new city-county municipal building is set to be built on the site. So what do you think? It's kind of interesting, isn't it? 1961. You think maybe a copy of my birth announcement is in that time capsule? Again, I was born in January of 1961. City Councilman Jamie Fulmer said he's looking forward to seeing what's inside the time capsule next month. He said, I think it's going to be exciting to see a piece of Spartanburg history. The people of the city came together and contributed items with the idea that future generations would open it and talk about it. I hope we do the same thing and put a time capsule in the new city-county building. What would you put in a time capsule if you were to put a piece of today's history for a future generation to see? I mean, 1961. I can tell you that was 63 years ago because that's what I turned in January. So 63 years ago, think about how people lived then. Think about there were no cell phones. In fact, back then you had party lines. You remember the party lines? I remember my grandmother Hudson. There were 4 people on her telephone line. And there was a lady down the road. I'm not going to call any names because some of her family still lives around the area. She talked all the time. And my grandmother would get so frustrated because she'd pick up the phone and this lady would be talking and she'd just have to put it back down. You remember that? Did you ever have a party line? Now we walk around with a phone in our pocket. Not only a phone, but a computer. A device that has more power than some of the first computers. I remember at Greer Middle School working on a special project with Clemson University, and the computer that we had took up an entire portable unit, one of those like a mobile classroom. We had to do punch cards to program it. We would send a very short message to Clemson with those punch cards, and we would get a reply the very next day. It took a day to do that. That's how time has changed things. So what would you put in a time capsule? Text me what you would put in the, text me via the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Appreciate you joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you're not on my mailing list, what are you waiting for? Go to joeyhudson.com. Click on Connect with Joey so that you can receive our emails. Find me on YouTube. Just search for Joey. I posted a new video there last night, a YouTube short. I want someone to look at it and text me what it's about. I might even have a prize for you if you can text me and tell me what my latest YouTube short is about. 864-477-5639 is the Furman Ford text line. Keep those comments coming. Appreciate you spending a few minutes of your day with me. Email me at joey@joeyhudson.com. Until tomorrow, remember, folks, God's got this. He's still in control.